All right, and welcome back to the Paisan Sports Podcast. Dante DePlacido, joined as always by Zach Deal of What's the Deal Sports. So I've got to ask, what's the deal with these Philadelphia teams blowing leads late in the game? First, the Phillies do it Saturday night. They're up 3-0 throughout most of the game. Then Topper leaves Christopher Sanchez for two. It's 3-2, and finally Matt Strahm gives up a 3-run homer, and the Phillies lose. And then today, I was getting ready to come on this podcast and talk some shit to our parent company, Elevation 5280 Sports, for beating the Denver Broncos, because I noticed the 5280 on their helmets, and that's what made me think of it. But then, no, the Eagles blow that lead, and they lose to the Broncos. What's going on?
It was a bad weekend. But Dante, I want to ask you something here first is how come every time you phrase when a starting pitcher for the Phillies does bad and they do good up until a certain point, how come you always phrase it? You know I'm not the biggest Rob Thompson fan, but how come you always phrase it as the manager left the pitcher in for too long when they mess up?
Because, well, like, okay, I understand what you're asking me, what you're saying / asking me. Like, you're saying Christopher Sanchez deserves part of the blame for messing up.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bash him completely, but I feel like that's always like the dialogue.
Well, hold on. I'm getting to it. Like, and I know you're not trying to bash him completely, but to answer your question, granted, Christopher Sanchez is the one who gave up the runs, the one who made it a 3-2 game to begin with. He's the one who needs to pitch better in that situation. But it's just the fact of that would have easily been avoided had Topper pulled it. It's the manager's job to assess, to analyze, to come to the decision of when to pull his starter and put the reliever in. So when he fails to do his job, leaving the starting pitcher open to making the mistake. The pitcher deserves blame for making the mistake, but he shouldn't even make the mistake because the manager should have done his job and pulled him at that point in time.
What I'm asking you that for what reason is, that was tough to say for some reason, but I'm trying to get at is, like, who would you rather have had in that situation than Christopher Sanchez? Like, what reliever do you trust more than having Christopher Sanchez in that moment?
Well, no, okay, that's a
because I don't trust the bullpen, and you saw it come to light. You said before.
Well, here's the thing. You're asking me what reliever do I trust more than Christopher Sanchez? That should not be the question, because obviously I trust Christopher Sanchez more than most of the guys in the bullpen, but after he gives up 2 runners on base while he's deep into his pitch count later in the game, like that's not an issue of not trusting Christopher Sanchez or not trusting anyone in the bullpen.
Well, I don't mean it like that. Like,
no matter who the starter is, I don't care. I don't care if you're Robin Roberts. I don't care if you're Randy Johnson. If you look like you don't have your stuff anymore on the mound, you should be for a reliever. Personally, who I would have went with, Kirkering, ended up with Robertson, and after those runs were given up, I also would have put him in. I believe it was and so that's why I'm thinking of righties I would have put in. But it definitely would have been the right decision after he let those 2 guys on base. His pitch count was about 90. He clearly didn't have his stuff anymore. It would have been the right decision to pull him.
Do you think they should have tapped into like Ranger, like how the Dodgers started using Tyler Glass now?
No, because Ranger, it may be in a different series, but when you look at the record against right-handed starters versus left-handed starters, I think they need to go Sanchez, Luzardo, and Ranger in this series. Dodgers, I think, are in the regular season, I think they were at 500 or a game below left-handed
Well,
starters.
you know what I'm trying to ask you?
Um,
I'm trying to ask you, like when they were diving into the bullpen, how Ranger was available out of the bullpen in game one. Should the Phillies have went to like Ranger instead of a bullpen arm in there to preserve the lead when they were moving off of Christopher Sanchez? Because that's what the Dodgers did.
no, I think what they should have done was just pull Sanchez before he gave up those runs, and then in terms of Matt Strom, I mean that is a situation where I think it was just poor pitching
But you
when
know
Matt
how I feel
Strom
about
gave
Matt
up the
Strom.
3
I
run.
haven't been the highest on him. I'm not high on anybody in the bullpen, but I just feel like they had to dive into their bullpen really quickly. And Christopher Sanchez, I do believe at times that they leave starters in for too long, but I also just don't believe in anybody really trusting coming out of the bullpen that much to where I would have felt comfortable. And I'm like, oh, well, they left Christopher Sanchez in for too long because at the end of the day, like what are we going to put Jordan Romano out there? You know what I mean? Like we don't really have that good of options that I trust to even get us out of that situation. But
But
the
that's the thing.
Dodgers did end up
Any
using,
reliever is better than a starter who just doesn't have it out there anymore on the mound and is deep into their.
yeah, but they could have used Ranger Suarez as the bullpen long arm, which he was available to do in game one. They could have brought him out of the bullpen and extended it to then using just like Johan Duran or one of their top relievers instead of having to dive into guys like. I guess they still consider Matt Strom a top reliever for them. I just have never
Definitely,
believed
they
in Matt
do.
Strom
Yeah,
does this stuff all the time.
I mean, Strom is the best lefty reliever out of the pen, and that's not highly. But he's the best lefty they got. I mean, who else you got? Tanner Banks, the other guy who's on the playoff roster, whose name I already forget. You're missing what's his name? Jose Alvarado. So, and that thing I was thinking about too. I think if Jose Alvarado doesn't get, maybe the Phillies win that game. Maybe Alvarado comes out in that inning, and
Yeah,
then
that's
you
just
go
not the
Kirker
case.
in
So.
the eighth.
But I
Ron in
would
the
feel
ninth.
really good about Jose Alvarado and Johan Duran being able to go back to back and then getting 7 out of my starter.
Well, could you imagine a bullpen where you have Kirkering, Alvarado, and uh, Aiton would be lethal. But
Well, I mean, how many times have I said they should have just traded for a Aroldis Chapman?
not in the postseason.
How many times have I said they should have just traded for a Aroldis Chapman?
Well,
Also, Sir Anthony Dominguez.
look how Duran's doing though. It's like we didn't trade
Sir
for
Anthony
Aroldis Chapman.
Dominguez
We
is
traded for
still
Duran.
pitching for the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Blue Jays, and doing well.
Yeah, he
Got rid of him
came
for pretty
off
much
today.
What did we
Finished
really
the game
what
off
did we
today.
really
What a
benefit from
crazy
getting rid
game
of him?
that was. 13-7.
What was the benefit of getting rid of him?
None. There was none. They got rid of him for Austin Hayes. I'm still upset to this day.
Austin Hayes is like a decent player. He just wasn't good with us, and he had all the issues with us. But I feel like they just got rid of like a very significant bullpen piece. Like Jose Alvarado and Sir Anthony Dominguez over the past couple of years of us getting in the playoffs were like the two most important pitchers outside of our starting pitchers was Zach Wheeler. So but
let's talk about a major bullet that the Phillies dodged. And that's Harrison Bader. At first we all thought Topper just pinched to hit Castellanos for Harrison Bader. I'm sure you probably thought the same thing. I feel like that's what everyone was under the impression of, and I was just like, "What?" Like I was already upset about the Sanchez thing, and I was like,
"I thought the sliding catch was rough, but I didn't think he got hurt necessarily." But I did see, and I was like, "Ooh, that looks like he could have potentially gotten hurt." And then I saw Castellanos pitch hit, but I thought they were just trying to do it matchup wise. And then I realized that he actually was injured. But I also thought, how do you feel about Castellanos being on the bench to start a series for the Phillies in the playoffs? I feel like he's a very important bat.
In a second, let's get to that in a second. Just to finish talking about Bader. At first, the news report was a hamstring sprain, sprain, whatever, potato. Either way, he was strained. postseason. So I was like, okay, great. And then come to find out, it was just like Titans, and he's likely to play in game 2. So what a relief that was a major blow to the offense.
Yeah, what'd you think about what they did with the offense too? He was batting in the 8 hole, and Marsh was actually in the 5 hole.
I thought about it, and if you're gonna put Bader that far back in the order, I would say bat him 9th, right? I feel like they put him 8th to kind of split
Put
things
Stott in
up
the
and
8 hole.
to give the bat. What's
Put
that?
Stott in the 8 hole.
Yeah, because if you bat Bader 9th, then you get a situation of Bader, Turner, Harper, Schwarber. So you get Bader the order. I know why he put him 8th, because he wanted to split up the left and right. It
Well,
kind of makes
another
more sense that
conversation
way.
that
So
we
you
need
go
to have,
lefty,
honestly.
righty, but
Another conversation we need to have, but I know you're not going to agree with me, but I don't think that Kyle Schwarber is a consistent enough hitter to be hitting that high in the order.
I mean, either way, you have to put him that high in the order. But I do understand the
I think he should just be the clean. I
him
think he
not
should be
being
the cleanup guy.
consistent.
I think he should be at batting in the
Well,
4th.
I mean, I've never been against Schwarber being a cleanup hitter. I thought when you say that high, I thought
He
you
can't
meant
bat
1
in the
through
2 hole
4.
like and going 0 for 4, 0 for 5. That's just not going to work.
Yeah, I'd rather put Bader in the 2 hole, and get Bohm out of the cleanup.
Yeah, that gets
Like
Bohm
that
out of the
either.
cleanup role, and I just don't think Schwarber's is a consistent enough, good enough hitter. He's a great power hitter, but as in contact wise, he can't be just going 0 for 4 or 0 for 5, swinging for the fences every single time he
Yeah.
goes up and not converting. You know what I mean? That can't be in the top of
Yeah,
their
I
order.
think no, I agree with you. I would like the lineup a lot better if it was Bader, Harper, Schwarber, or even Turner, Harper, Bader. You can't really bat Bader 3rd, but I was just trying to think to
I would
switch up the
probably put
left and
JT in
right
the 5
hand.
hole too. I like JT goes off in the playoffs, so I would
Yeah.
put JT
Oh
in the
yeah.
5 hole,
Yeah.
and I'd feel good about that.
You know.
So that's just how I would do it. They have some options too, but I think they should tweak the lineup a little bit and just mess around because they had a different dynamic that led to all that momentum at the end of the season with Trey Turner and Alec Bohm injured. You saw they were a little like fuzzy a little bit in the field with how the balls were coming out of their gloves when they both came back from injury, but the momentum that they brought into the playoffs with missing those 2 guys missing, I feel like they should tweak the lineup a little bit to re-spark and get some momentum going for the lineup because they went late into that game. I can't blame that on Christopher Sanchez or David Robertson because at the end of the day, they were trying to hold on to a 3 runs created by themselves, all 3 hits into like the 7th inning.
The thing too is even though the pitching blew the game, and this goes for the Phillies and the Eagles today, you can't expect to just cling on to that 3-0 lead and the whole game and go on to win the game. You need to tack on more runs. And that's definitely a big issue there.
Exactly. And it's just like I don't want to have to turn it over to the bullpen too early. Like I felt like they could have used different arms out of the bullpen and set it up differently. I do agree with Topper. Why did he not make a move later on? But it wasn't like I also don't feel that confident about the bullpen to like who will we pivot to instead. But how do you feel? Let's talk about that for a little bit. Nick Castellanos, how do you feel with him out of the lineup? Because he's been a significant top. I mean, last year in the Mets series when they got ousted really quick, he was the best bat that they had.
Yeah, at first I didn't hate it because I thought, Kepler's starting to hit the ball a lot better against righties. Castellanos hasn't been the best, but Kepler showed last night why Castellanos should be in the lineup instead of him. Kepler did not look good at all. And bring up a great point when you look at what Castellanos did last year in the postseason. contributing. You look at what he did in 2023 in that divisional series against the Braves. You just look at what he's done in the postseason as a Philly. Just all together, he should be the guy in the lineup instead of Kepler. And I think that was
just an extra 270 bat in the back of the order. Like, I feel like that can't hurt the lineup in any means. You know what I mean? We know Matt Kepler's not going to be able to hit like 270 consistently the way that Nick Castellanos proven that he has in his career.
I'm sure. Wait, so do Dodgers starter we're facing tomorrow night?
Would it be Yamamoto?
Oh yeah, Snell, and that's Blake Snell's a lefty. Okay, so that definitely means we're going to get Castellanos tomorrow night, which is good. It's also I kind of like
Kyle Schwarber hits lefties pretty well. I just feel like he should.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like our matchup against lefties because Schwarber.
I think Bryce should be in the 2-hole. I'd feel good with Alec Bohm in the 3-hole, honestly.
No.
Yeah, I would.
No.
I would.
No. But back to what I was saying, I feel like we hit lefties pretty well because you got Bader against lefties and Turner. Schwarber hits well against lefties anyhow.
The Dodgers bullpen isn't even that good
in the lineup.
The Dodgers bullpen's not even that good. We just have to get them into their bullpen. And Shohei, obviously.
I wonder what they'll do.
The other day, but nothing spectacular. I mean, he had a lot of strikeouts.
I wonder if they'll play Sosa instead of Stott on Monday, and what they do about Brandon Marsh. I wonder if they just load up on the righties. I can't imagine you would start Weston Wilson.
I feel like Stott might just not start because he sucked versus lefties.
Yeah,
I feel like they give it.
I feel like you would still start Marsh just because the idea of starting Weston.
Well, I think Stott would definitely see the light of day. It'd just probably be like a pinch hit in the 7th inning. Or
exactly. Just like what they did with Sosa, how they pinch hit him for Brandon Marsh. Speaking of Sosa pinch hitting, how about deja vu to the 2022 World Series? Key situation, and Sosa just misses one.
I know that was tough.
Yeah,
I don't like to compare them back to other moments because it makes me feel 2 times as worse. So I try not to make those connections and reflections back to.
Me and you were at Xfinity for that game, right? Yeah.
That was the run.
Rough time.
It was a rough time. But what do you think is the number one thing that the Phillies have to do to get a win in Game 2? Because we do not we can definitely not fall down 2-0 and go back to Los Angeles.
Well, no, if you fall down 2-0, the series is over. The series is over if you fall down 2-0. After Monday, I think it comes down to the offense more than anything. I mean, you look at the biggest issue from Game 1, and it was the top of the order going 0-4 with I think a total of 5 strikeouts.
And how many from Kyle Schwarber?
What's that?
How many from Kyle Schwarber? And then how did we not capitalize on Shohei had 4 strikeouts as a batter, and we didn't even capitalize on
that's the thing too, is Shohei continues to struggle at CBP, and he did last night, and we didn't capitalize by winning the game. We let other guys like Kike Hernandez kill us. And we also squandered Teoscar Hernandez in right field, just he would have been my meatball of the week if we would have went on to win that game. It would feel weird meatball of the week, and they ended up winning the game. But I mean, that was just abysmal. He did not even try out there.
I mean, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. He's also
it doesn't exactly. It doesn't even matter at the end of the day.
He's the one that won the game for them.
At the end of the day, so. Exactly.
And I feel like, as much as I hate on Matt Strom, I don't even know if that pitch was necessarily something that I can be upset with that got hit out of the park. It wasn't anything that was atrocious. I feel like it was just good offense, honestly. A high fastball that he just got to. I feel like it wasn't a bad pitch because we've seen that pitch used against Phillies batters and strike them out in key situations. So I feel like I wasn't even upset with Matt Strom leaving a curveball over the middle of the plate. I just felt like that was good offense on Teoscar Hernandez. But that's how scary the Dodgers are. Are you intimidated with the Dodgers facing them this early in the playoffs? Because I feel like no one really expected us to
It's
have
not
the
the
fans like this.
Dodgers that intimidate me. It's not the Dodgers that intimidate me so much. It is that the Phillies worry me. You know what I mean? Because they're doing the same old shit they did against the Mets last year. They're
Well,
doing the
but
same old shit
also
they did
with
in
that,
the second portion of that series against the Diamondbacks 2 years ago.
yeah.
You know,
With that being said, I feel like since they worry me, I feel like there's less room for error with a team like the Dodgers. That's what worries me even more, is because
well,
now we're facing the
I
Dodgers.
mean, you're going to have a small room of error against any playoff team, right? You know, I mean, like we're talking about how, there was that small room of error. It's the same small room of error that they dealt with against the Mets last year. Because, I mean, what the Dodgers did to us last night is the same thing the Mets did to us last year. I mean, that game one felt very similar to game and game three, I think it was. So it's just, any playoff team that the Phillies are going to go up against, if you play baseball this way, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I felt pretty good in the eighth inning too when Trey got on, because I just know how dynamic of a runner he is. I felt like they could have really done something. They just really couldn't
And they
convert
didn't.
or anything.
Yeah, they didn't.
But who are you going to make as the X factor for game two? Who needs to take their game to the next level for the Phillies to have a chance in game two, so they don't go
Well,
down?
who needs to, and who do I think is going to be the one to do so, are two different questions. I
Okay,
think,
we'll answer both of them.
yeah, who needs to? It's the entire 1 through 3. Turner, Harper, Schwarber. That's who needs to. Who do I going to? I have two answers for you. Number one is Jesus Luzardo. I just for some reason see him having a dominant performance on the mound. And in terms of hitters, I feel like I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but as Will Ferrell in Eastbound and Down would say, I can feel it in my palms. Harrison Bader is going to be the X factor at the plate.
Are you gonna put that on him, like coming off the injury too?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. He's a gamer. You know what I mean? He's a baller.
Is that your favorite player?
Currently, it might be. He honestly might currently be my favorite player.
That's the way you speak of him. But yeah, I just think Trey Turner has to really step up. That's the guy that I'm looking for to start making some plays, especially on the base pass. So, like I said, I felt good when he got on the other day late, but they weren't able to convert. But I think he needs to get on, and I just want a little bit more like consistency at the top of the order, like you said, 1 through 3. But I feel like the reason that could happen is if they actually do something about 1 through 3 and change the order up a little bit. So we'll see what they do. But bullpen wise, name two guys that you can feel confident in and two guys that you can't feel confident in. And don't bring up Johan Duran because we already know how we feel about him.
All right. Well, I mean, two guys I'm confident other than Johan Duran is interesting. So I'm gonna go Kirkering because that's my guy.
I was just about to say you're one of the biggest Kirkering fans.
Kirkering is my guy. So I'm
But
gonna
he
go
also has the
Kirkering.
susceptibility to let up that Matt Strom home run that just happened the other day as well. He does the same thing.
So Kerner, if I have to think of another reliever I trust outside of Kirkering and Duran, I guess because my hands are tied. Because my hands are tied, I'm gonna say Tanner Banks. All right. And that's just because my hands are tied. Right?
That's something you would not even have said in August.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, very good point.
Probably not even in September either.
But if I have to name two relievers. Okay, well, right, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. That was two relievers I do trust. I was trying for some reason in my mind. I'm trying to think of a third. Actually, you know what? If we're counting him as a reliever, as of right now, the second guy I trust would be Walker Buehler. If we count him as a reliever, if not,
fair game, especially a long arm.
Tanner Banks. But
when do you think
relievers I don't trust.
Real
I you
quickly,
know
when do you think we'll see Walker?
um I see Walker if we make it to the NLCS. I could see them doing like a Walker game.
You think he's going to get
Taiwan
like Noah
and
Syndergaard's role?
Bueller. What's that?
You think he gets the Noah Syndergaard role?
Yeah, maybe. But two relievers I don't know. Matt Strom. I'm just gonna name the two guys from last night, Matt Strom and David Robertson. If I have to name two guys I don't trust at the moment.
Oh, you're a harsh critic, man.
Hey, I really liked David Robertson when they brought him back at first when he was pitching, but his last few appearances out of the pen have not gone well, and he's
I'm
old,
just nervous
so that
because,
makes
like,
me trust
remember,
him less.
I'm just nervous because remember I sent you Will Smith was like out for the playoffs. He's just playing, and like you know how Freddie was like hurt all last season in the playoffs, and then he was just the World Series MVP. I just feel like even stuff like that for the Dodgers, like there's so much talent. Like Mookie wasn't doing the best in the regular season this year. It was like actually one of the storylines of the MLB this year, how bad that he was doing in the regular season, and then he's just cranked it up in the playoffs. So I just feel like at any time the Dodgers can really crank it up, and the Phillies already being down one game just doesn't make me feel good. But well, our offense cannot be, like I said, sitting on 3 runs and 3 hits total in the 7th inning. I just don't think that's a recipe for success versus a team like the Dodgers.
Yeah. We'll see how. Hopefully, next time we go on this podcast, we will start talking about Phillies postseason baseball and not mourning the death of 25 Philadelphia Phillies. But it is now time for my
Hold on, real
meatball of the week.
while you say that. Let's see how it time's up. So we do the Sunday podcast.
Oh, game would be Saturday. I already know.
Game what?
Game 5, if necessary, would be Saturday. So either way, the series will not prolong itself to the next podcast.
So game 7 will be Saturday?
Game 5.
Game 5, yeah, it's 5 and then 7 and 7 in the last 3, 5.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
So
Do you think
no matter what.
dynamic?
What's
Do you
that?
think that switches up the dynamic at all?
What do you mean?
Going like the first round being 3 games, the second round being 5, and then 7 and 7. Like basketball is just 7, 7, 7, 7 to win the championship.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny since you asked me that? When I play 2K and I do like a my league or whatever, you know how it lets you customize the playoff format? Just because I think it's fun, I make the playoff format the same as it is in baseball. I do best of 3, best of 5, and then 7-7. I used to do sudden death around 1 because the MLB wild card used to be 1 game. So I used to, and it made sense anyway, being how often is the 8 seed going to beat the 1 seed, and if you're the 1 seed, just do your job, win the sudden death game,
dude.
And then it makes the 4 versus 5 series interesting. It's like any one of them, who knows what's going to happen in this game. But yeah, so I do.
All right, dude.
7,
We don't want to hear about you on literally rookie NBA, still losing, still putting up 36 points in over 6-minute quarters.
Here's the thing: if you were to call me out for my difficulty in any defend my position, now in 2K I don't use rookie, but I'm also not going to defend my position because I'm pretty fucking trash at 2K, so I do use a lower difficulty.
I read you like a book. All right, well, let's get into the meatball of the week before you make yourself the meatball.
The meatball of the week. We got 2 meatballs from 2 different weeks. And actually, this is the first time any of us is referencing this podcast. We apologize for not having a podcast last week. We had some scheduling conflicts. And that's why I have 2 meatballs of the week this week, because these meatballs both did the same thing, just in different weeks. And I'm going to name the guy from this week first because I already forget the name of the guy from last week. The guy from this week is the running back for the Cardinals. What's his last name? DeMarco? Is his name Pat?
Mercado.
DeMarcado. See, I was close enough.
That's like a kind of like an Italian last name. You couldn't say that. Like, are you okay over there?
Well, maybe it's because I just assumed he didn't have an Italian last name. But yeah,
you know what they say, Dante?
What's that?
You know what they say?
What?
Don't assume. It makes an ass out of you and me. So.
Anyway, yeah. So DeMarcado pulled a Deshaun Jackson as he was running the ball into the end zone and just let go of the ball before he crossed the plane. He did not score the touchdown, and the Cardinals, funny enough, went on to lose the game. That touchdown would have put the game away, honestly. Instead, they went on to lose. And then last week, somebody on the Colts did the same thing. Except he didn't really, it wasn't like a Deshaun Jackson where he just dropped it too early. He tried to hold out the ball to celebrate, and he just lost control of it, and it went out of the end zone. So you guys, because I forget the first guy's name from last week, you guys are my meatballs of the week. Weeks, I guess.
Bada bang, bada boom, baby. All right, well, let's talk some ball. Let's talk some fucking ball, baby. You know what time it is to talk some ball. You're a baseball guy. I'm a football guy. So I'm ready to shoot the shit about some football. Let's start talking about, because you hate being negative. I love being real. So we have a little conflict with that sometimes. But let's start off with some negatives about today, because we did lose our first game of the season. Now we're only 20 of our last 22 regular season games. So, you know, the Eagles suck. They're not like a dynasty, one of the best teams in NFL history currently. But let's talk about some negatives, because they did lose the game and give up 18 points, as you can see on the ticker on the bottom of our podcast graphic here. Dante, what are a couple things that you noticed that were negatives from the Eagles that led to them losing and blowing this lead?
Well, if I can talk about the Eagles themselves, one, and I kind of hate to bash him, because I thought, all things considered, just a second start in the NFL, I don't think he did too bad, and I think he's gonna do better as the season goes on. But Kelee Ringo, you know, he gave up some catches, he missed some tackles. Kelee Ringo was a negative. Landon Dickerson's health is a negative. I was
going to say, I wanted to talk about the offensive line. I think the offensive line's overrated.
I think I could agree with that. But I did think there were
I think we're good at we're good run blockers, but we're not showing it this year, because Saquon only had 6 carries today, and he's under like 3 yards per carry for the season, or just over 3 yards per carry for the season. But I feel like the offensive line's been underwhelming, especially transitioning away from losing Mekhi Becton in the offseason. I feel like that's been an underrated storyline. And Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson keep getting hurt. We know Cam Jurgens was banged up a little bit, and they just gave him a contract. But I just feel like the offensive line's not up to like the standard of being the overall outlier best offensive line in the league, like they were considered before.
Well,
what
I will say, you know, in terms of pass blocking, I mean, there were plays today where they gave Jalen Hurts a ton of time, and anytime that's happened, you know, it just resulted in an incompletion or a coverage sack.
I like the Kevin Patullo play calling like of recent, but why is this such a drastic swing between like run and pass? Like, where gains were like they're running the ball 30 plus times and passing the ball like just 20. And then today they run the ball 11 total times and pass the ball 38 times.
Well, you know, it's funny you bring that up, because let's not to get off topic, but let's keep in mind, this is what the general public has been wanting to see. They've been wanting to see Jalen Hurts put up passing numbers and for the Eagles to lose, because apparently that's more important than winning. You know, I mean, this is what
Yeah, but
everyone
I
wants you
haven't
to
been like
watch.
that. I'm just looking for balance. I understand how good Saquon is, but we can't overuse him, and teams are selling out to stop him. But I feel like I love putting the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands, and I feel like we should do it more. And I loved how Smitty got involved today, and
Me
AJ.
got really involved. I'll tell you what, man. You know, with the struggles of you know, whether it's been Jalen Hurts or Kevin Petullo or AJ Brown himself, but with the lack of AJ Brown production this season, I'll tell you what, man. Smitty's been doing his thing out there.
Yeah, I noticed too on the broadcast. Tony Romo brought it up, and I thought it was a good point. The Eagles like passing game really works only with like vertical breaking routes. They don't really do anything that like comes back to the quarterback or that's like around the line of scrimmage. It's more so stuff that's like pushing down the field. But with them doing that, the way they passed the ball today, they're actually able to get the ball into like multiple playmakers' hands. I mean, we saw Saquon with the longest catch of his
Yeah.
Eagles career. We saw Jahan Dotson have a 30-plus yard catch himself. We saw Dallas Goddard
Well,
get
Jahan Dotson. Let's talk about the catch Jahan Dotson almost had
yeah.
deep down the field. And let's talk about how perfect of a ball that was from Jalen Hurts. I mean, that it's unfortunate that doesn't get to go on Jalen Hurts' highlight reel because that was a perfect ball.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, 11 carries today. I just felt like that was absolutely insane for 2025 Eagles football.
Oh
That
yeah.
just didn't make any sense.
No, it was very
Because like
uncharacteristic.
I get where you're coming from. Like how I know you weren't referring to me because like how I'm not like like I just want us to win and I value Jalen and I don't need him to throw for 250 yards every single week to know the value of Jalen. But I see where you're coming from with that. That's what everybody wanted to see. But I don't also think that anybody wanted to see that drastic of them running the ball barely over 10 times total with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, like capable ball
Yeah,
carriers.
no. And well, what I really more so mean to say is, be careful what you wish for. Because then that's what you're gonna get. If you're constantly, oh well, Jalen needs to throw more. Jalen needs to throw more. We need to see more passing numbers. Oh, I'd rather see more passing numbers. I was listening to the radio not this past week. Caller called in. He asked, which would you rather have, option A or option B? Option A in reference to which game was the AJ Brown breakout game where he had like 115 yards? Was that against Kansas City?
What happened?
AJ Brown. Oh yeah, the 109 yards that was against the Rams. So after that game, a caller
Yeah.
called in and was like, option A or option B. Option A, the Eagles win the game, but AJ Brown doesn't have 100 yards. Option B, AJ Brown still has 100 yards, but the Eagles lose. And whatever host was on at that point in the day was like, "Oh, I'll take option B. Yeah, give me the AJ Brown breakout game and the Eagles lose." Like, what are we talking about? So it's like, if that's the kind of shit you're asking for, where you'd rather see the pass game more and the Eagles lose, then this is exactly what the hell you asked for.
See,
This is
it's a
exactly
touchy
what you
subject,
asked
Dante,
for.
because I tell Cowboys fans that try and get on me that I don't care what Jalen Hurts' stat line looks like as long as they win. And with him at quarterback, they win more than any other guy that they've had at quarterback in recent memory. But it's a touchy subject because I know he's capable of putting up big passing numbers if that's what the offensive scheme asks for. But the other thing is, do I think that them disregarding the run like they kind of did today to put up those big passing numbers, if I think that's the best formula for them and most optimal way for them to win, I don't think that is.
Yeah,
So
no, and neither do I. And neither do I, But I'm just trying to make that point that, I just hope the other people realize how stupid they sound when they see the result of today's game.
like
Um,
AJ had 8 targets today, 5 catches, 43 yards, pretty good. I mean, Smitty went off. We always expect Smitty to go off like every other game. That's just how he's always been. And he always gets over 1,000 yards. Like he's that guy. He's
Smitty
that
made
good.
some nice plays too. He made some nice
And
plays.
Dallas Goedert's really good too. And Dallas Goedert, you saw they threw a touchdown to Dallas Goedert inside the 5 yard line. Usually, like
And Dallas
how often do
Goddard,
we throw the ball inside the 5 yard line?
Dallas Goedert should have set the Eagles up for one last play from about the 10-yard line to hopefully win the game.
And it
But
wasn't even just him. Before Calcaterra got hurt too, he had a couple good catches too over the middle of the field. So,
but listen, let's talk about the
defense-wise,
defense a bit and what
yeah,
went
I
wrong
was just
there.
about to say defensive-wise, one thing I want to point out and note, I know he's banged up a little bit, but Jalen Carter has not been Jalen Carter this season.
No, he hasn't. He has not. And you know, when he's not Jalen Carter, you need guys like Moro Jomo and Jordan Davis to step up.
Well, I was going to
And
talk about like a guy that stepped up in there, like because Jalen Carter's getting hyped up with being a top 25 defensive player in the league, like one of those type of guys, like a true like franchise changing player, and he hasn't been that for the Eagles, which has been disappointing. But Quinyon Mitchell at an almost as similarly important position has stepped up, and now he's one of the best players at his position in football.
yeah, well, yeah, Quinyon's been great.
Cooper is ridiculous too.
Cooper has been great. Makuba made what should have been a game-saving play.
He's just a little inconsistent. He kind of flashes. He's a little bit more
but
flashy.
that third down tackle should have been a game-saving play. So it's a shame.
Cooper's been all over the field making tackles all over.
I thought Zadarius Smith looked really good today.
Oh yeah, he had that huge sack, I think, and on that one player was the TFL that he had.
Well, and he also had what should have been an intentional grounding, but they picked up the flag.
Well, he's so important now with Nolan Smith on IR with the tricep strain. He's so important for what they have to do.
Absolutely, and I would have thought. And correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I thought this was the game that Kobe Dean was returning. I would have thought they would have played a good number of snaps with Nakobe Dean at linebacker and Jahad Campbell rushing the passer, especially with Nolan Smith out, but we didn't see any of that today. That's something I was expecting to see. Maybe considering
that'll probably be the plan. That'll open up the defense a little bit more too.
I was about to say was maybe considering they have the game Thursday night. Maybe they're waiting for Thursday night to do that.
Well, that opens up the defense now because if you put Jahad Campbell in that edge rushing role, he can also drop into coverage from that role that you weren't doing with that was in that role before.
Yeah, I definitely think that's what they should be doing. So maybe we're going to see that Thursday night. I can tell you one thing. One silver lining I'm thinking about is typically when the Eagles lose the game, especially in that poor of a fashion, it's what makes it so frustrating is it's like, okay, now we have to wait an entire week for this Eagles team to redeem themselves. But they played Thursday night. So we don't have to wait an entire week. We just have to wait until Thursday night. They're going to play the Giants. It's a team.
I'm just a little nervous because the Giants, one of their strengths of their team is their interior defensive line.
They just lost to the Saints. I'm not.
I know, but their pass rush is good and their offensive line is having.
No, you're right, but they just lost to the Saints in a week where I was rooting for them to do well. Because I picked up their defense in fantasy because Pittsburgh's on a bye week. So I was even
Dude, I got ruined by both of my starting running backs in the Elevation 5280 Sports League were on buys, and I had to start two. I had to start Devin Singletary, and I had to start Bayshell Tootin, and it wasn't the best for me. So
now. One final thing I want to talk, or I don't even know if final thing or not, but one thing I want to talk about before I feel like we should talk a bit about fantasy is a lot of discourse online about Eagles should fire Kevin Patullo, and I think me and you are
ready.
Oh yeah. I'm seeing it all over Twitter, and I was gonna say I think me and you are on the side of that's fucking stupid. Why? No, don't.
I wasn't happy with them in the beginning of the year. I thought the offense looked very open. I just thought they just needed to be a little bit more balanced. I think we needed to add in 8 more runs and get close to.
Yeah, I mean the play calling.
There should never be a game. where Saquon Barkley is healthy and he doesn't get 12 to 13 carries. It should never be less than 12 to 13 carries. 6 is just not good enough. And Jalen, with his running ability, he needs to carry the ball at least 5 times himself, and they should be good. Nobody else in the backfield even really has to touch the ball. Will Shepley, your boy, A.J. Dillon, I guess he has to because we talked about it before with they bring him in as a pass blocker to keep the defense even. They need to give him the ball a little bit just to keep the defense honest. But it should be Saquon and Jalen touching the ball. Saquon 12 to 13 carries at minimum every time. Jalen needs at least 5, and that number will be higher regardless, just in general. And then they can still throw the ball 30 to 35 times and have balance and be able to use all the playmakers in their entire offense.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, it's like the play calling has been better. It was better today. I thought they did. It's actually funny. I saw Brian Baldinger talk about like an unstoppable play they have where Jalen.
Why do you call Baldinger?
I don't know. Anyway, he was talking about an unstoppable play they have where Jalen has the option to either hand it off and either pull it and run or pull it and throw it to Dallas Goedert, who blocks and releases out into the flat. And he was talking about how unstoppable that play is. I thought they used it a lot today, like too much. They did too much, and it wasn't even Goddard each time. I think I saw them throw it to Devontae Smith that way a couple times. The first time they used it, actually, Jalen made the wrong read because you're supposed to watch to see if the defensive end crashes in or stays and watches the quarterback. And the first time they ran it, Jalen Hurts went to throw to Dallas Goedert. The defensive end batted the ball down. So obviously,
it's going to mesh RPO read. That's
it's
basic football. But they had 23 completions today, and 19 of them went to the 4 guys between Dallas Goedert.
Wait. Not to get off topic, because I was just going on a bit of a side tangent. I still want to stick with my main point. My main point is, I thought the play calling overall looked better today. I don't think it looked as conservative. I was just trying to say, I think they ran that play too many times. But I kind of agree with your point. I think it was more so a poor mix of run and pass. So I think Patullo is slowly starting to get it a bit more and more. One thing that I think is absurd that they were talking about on the broadcast is they said, well, Patullo is still trying to learn what Jalen likes to do. What do you mean? He's been here. He was the pass game coordinator before this. How does he not know what Jalen likes to do?
Well, I was just about to say, I feel like
but with that being said,
I feel like when they throw the ball more, Jalen has less of a tendency to run. Not that like he doesn't run less and like doesn't make the plays as much, but when he's inclined to dropping back more, he stays in the pocket more. So he's still moving around, but he'll stay more so. He'll like move around to throw as opposed to like just completely gunning out when they're running the ball a lot, and then he has a bad passing situation where nobody's open. Like he's more inclined to run in those situations than when he gets like 38 dropbacks like he did today, where he'll move around in the pocket to throw the ball instead of just taking off like he normally does. Because he also, Jalen having 2 carries is insane. Jalen Hurts 2 carries today for 3 yards.
Yeah, well, it was really more like 4 because 2 ended up getting ruled as a sack because he got tackled behind the line while he was trying to scramble. But as I was saying, though, like I think Patullo's like slowly starting to get it, and I think week by week, I think the play calling and the offense is going to improve. I don't think after 5 weeks with a 4-1 record, you should fire your offensive coordinator. I think that is
I think so. That's blasphemous.
6 sacks ridiculous today, that people are talking about it.
6 sacks though allowed today. That can't be a thing.
No, but I think it was more so like 4.
It's not either way. He got tackled when he was leaving the pocket. He got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Those are sacks.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're trying to leave the pocket and you get tackled, it's definitely a sack.
Well, that means that there's
If you're
pressure coming.
sprinting down the sideline
Yeah,
and you
but
get
that means that
tackled
there's
right
pressure
at the
coming
line
in
of
that's
scrimmage,
making you leave
yes,
the
it's
pocket,
technically
though.
a sack, but I don't really look at it as him getting sacked. And I don't look at it as an issue with the offensive line,
Well,
especially when
nothing's
you're
been. We
throwing
have
it
yet
that
to
way.
see with the quality opponent that the Eagles have faced. I know that we usually
We
do like
haven't seen them play a bad team yet. We haven't seen them
well,
play a
that's what I'm getting
mediocre
at
team
is
yet.
because
Yeah.
like we don't usually preview like the next week as much, but since we have the Thursday game is a little bit different. The quality of opponent drops, but we're on also short notice. I was going to ask you, can we like trust the Eagles to blow out the Giants based off of like knowing the
The
Eagles are the best
Eagles,
team in the league still,
listen,
and the
here's
Giants
the
are where
thing.
they're
Here's
at, or
the
like this year, the way that this year's gone? Can we trust the Eagles to even do
hold
that
on.
because they haven't
I,
even gotten to that point with
I,
any
I
team
want to stop you.
recently?
Hold on. The Eagles, this Eagles team, not speaking of this year's team, talking about the team of this era. This Eagles team doesn't blow out bad teams. I mean that
They
wasn't
did in
something
2022 when they were going to the Super Bowl.
like maybe a couple times.
They blew the Giants out in the playoffs.
But no, they blow out teams in the playoffs. I mean, look what they did to the Commanders. Look what they did to the Chiefs.
So
But
that counts. That counts.
in the regular season, I mean, look at last year against the Cleveland Browns, for example, right? This team doesn't really blow out bad teams. And if you compare last year's game to the Browns, to this year's game against the Giants, it's a similar situation where they're coming off an ugly loss early in the year, questions about coaching, and then you go up against a bad team. So, I could see this year's Giants game being this year's version of that, where it's an ugly win, and then they get things moving after that. I don't know. I don't expect them to blow out the Giants. I just expect them to win. And after seeing an ugly loss like that, I just want to see a win. I don't give a shit about blowing them out. I don't give a shit about anybody's stats. I don't give a shit about AJ Brown getting going. I just get the win. Just get back in the win column. That's how I feel about Thursday night.
Wasn't it pretty crazy how in sync AJ and Devontae were on that last? That
That
should
was
have been a
kind of
catch.
fun.
That should have been a touchdown. I thought it was
Yeah.
going to happen too. That was actually, I thought Jalen put too much on the ball, but the way he followed through and like dipped his arm down, I knew he felt like he precisely dropped that where he needed to.
And he did. He put it exactly where he needed to.
Dude, I thought that should have been a catch. I felt like
It kind of should have been.
I felt like Devontae did the right thing jumping in front of AJ. And if AJ wasn't behind Devontae, obviously AJ was there first and Devontae jumped in front of him. But I felt like Devontae would have caught that if AJ wasn't behind him.
Yeah, no, I think you might have been right. But in my opinion, I think that final play should have been ran from about the 10-yard line because it should have been PI on Dallas Goedert.
That was insane.
I think that was an egregious missed call. I think all around the game was so poorly officiated, and all the unnecessary roughness on Vaughn, the picking up of the intentional grounding, the
ball in play was tough.
Nick's fumble. That was a fumble. His arm was not coming forward yet. It was coming up, but not forward. That was a fumble. It was just a horribly officiated game. But it's like look at last year. Look at that loss to the Commanders. That was a very ugly, annoying loss. You're going to get one of those in the season. You just got, but
that's why I'm not putting too much stock into it.
But that doesn't mean this isn't a Super Bowl team,
I would be salty. I would be more so salty even on short notice if they would have been 5-0 through that gauntlet of games and then lose their first game of the year versus a team like the Giants on Thursday night.
Yeah.
I'd be more salty about that.
And you know what? I think a team like the Broncos is the perfect opponent to lose to. Because you don't want to lose to a bad team because then it's an embarrassing look. But you also don't want to lose to a great team because then it looks like you're not good enough to beat a team like that.
They're a very solid team. I mean, they have a really good coach. They have a good quarterback, and they have a really good defense. I mean, they check all the boxes. That's a playoff team.
Yeah, no, they are, but considering you've already beat teams better than them, then it doesn't. Well, it's not like if they beat nothing but bad and mediocre teams all year and then they lose to the Broncos and it's like, wow, they're frauds. You know what I mean?
Well, after today,
and if like let's say hypothetically, if they were to have played the Bills today and they were to have lost, that would be worse because then it would be like, well, the Eagles aren't the top dog in the NFL, it's the Bills. Or if they lost to another top caliber team, then it just looks like they're at a high level, but not that high of a level. Obviously, there's still a high level despite losing to the Broncos. So it's not it that they lost to them. That's what I'm getting at here. You want to lose to a team that's good but not elite. That's good but not bad. Way of
explaining it. I got you though. I feel you. But the Broncos are in a good spot because the Chargers lost again today. The Broncos beat the Eagles, and the Chiefs are already behind the 8 ball with the start of their season. So the Broncos are actually in a good spot where they could actually make some noise this year.
Yeah, no, they're a good team. They have a great defense. Will Nix is a good young quarterback. But let's,
even Surtain defensive player of the year. The Eagles aren't intimidated by Surtain. I mean, remember Smitty in like his rookie or his sophomore year? Moss Surtain twice for 2 different touchdowns in Denver. And then today, A.J. Brown drew that pass interference that got the ball inside like the 3-yard line before the Dallas Goedert touchdown on Patrick Surtain. So they match up well with them. But I just felt like this a game like this was bound to come with the start of the season for the Eagles. So
yeah, absolutely. But let's move on. Quick shout out. Real before we talk about the Sixers briefly before we get out of here, quick shout out to 2 other I don't know how to categorize them because one is a team, one is a person. So, but anyway,
I don't value them and I don't care. So just say what you gotta say.
You don't care, but listen, in a weekend where the Phillies blow a 3-0 lead, the Eagles blow a 17-3 lead. And things look grim, right? What is a big deal in the soccer world, a very big deal, it's worth noting.
I don't care about the soccer world.
Who cares what you care about? It's something worth noting. It's something worth noting. Hey, half the time when we talk about the Sixers on this podcast during the offseason, when there's nothing to talk about, I don't care to talk about the Sixers, but we do it anyway. So it's worth noting that the Philadelphia Union have won the Supporter Shield for the 2025 season. That's a big deal in soccer. Shout out to Ian. Good on them. Great job, Union.
That's not the best traditional Philly sports topic that we do on the podcast news from this weekend. We had South Jersey native our age Joe Pfeiffer from Vineland win via finish in the UFC.
Joe Pfeiffer.
He'd beat your ass, bro. He
probably would, but fuck him.
Top 15 of the UFC. You're talking about MLS soccer compared to being top 15 ranked in the UFC. There's levels to this.
You message me privately, Joe Pfeiffer. I'll handle you.
He's going to message you publicly.
I'm going to give you my address and my work address.
Sixers, the topic we've all been waiting for. We talked about those 2 other bullshit teams just to get to the grand finale, baby. The Sixers. How we feeling, Dante? How you feel after you saw your boy Justin Simmons go? Not Justin Simmons. Why am I tripping? Justin Simmons. Justin Edwards. I'm thinking about the safety that the Eagles need to. Imagine if the Sixers signed the safety the Eagles needed. But Justin Edwards 0 for 8 to start the. I forget where they were playing at. I forget what it's like.
They're playing in like the Middle East or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but versus the Knicks. And then they played the Knicks again. And then did you see VJ Edgecombe take flight?
VJ Edgecombe looks great, man. His shooting numbers haven't been the best, but he's making great plays out there on the court.
I feel like he doesn't need his shooting numbers to be crazy to impact the game, though. And once they come along, that will just add another layer to his game. But everything else, I mean, for being a high flyer guy, the way he's able to cut, he's probably going to be able to score those OG Andre Iguodala type points for the Sixers just based off being able to
And
move
plus,
around.
if you saw that block that he had in the more recent game,
They haven't had athleticism like this at the forward 2-3 position in how long, dude? It feels
he is very athletic. And one thing I do really like about his jump, he's got an old school looking jump shot. Like it looks like something out of what's that video game? Where the corner three was bugged. But he's got that old school looking jump shot that I like to see. I honestly think, I think he has the chance to win Rookie of the Year. I'm not gonna lie, and I think he has the chance to become the best pick of the draft. And
I think the first couple months of the season, he's going to average like 10 to 12 points. He's going to be a factor on defense, and he's going to get a lot of like cutting, flashy dunks, and play really good defense. And then I think his scoring numbers are going to grow into his jump shot growing, and he's going to be able to average by the end of the season close to like 17 points. And I think that might be enough impactfully wise if the Sixers make the playoffs, depending on like his impacts and his role. I would assume that they're probably going to start him.
Yeah, I would think so. Especially
I think it would either be
McCain
the options would be he'd be the sixth man or start, but since Jared McCain's banged up with the UCL thumb injury, I feel like he's just going to definitely start now. I feel like Jared
he's got to cut back on those trips to the nail tech. You know what I mean?
You think that's what's messing up his thumb?
Yeah.
But optimally, anyway, I feel like I would want Jared McCain healthy to be the sixth man anyway and play 30 minutes a night and start VJ. Anyway.
No, I would want the better defender to be in the starting lineup. But let's talk about.
But now that we know the roster and how like it all matches up, like what do we do? Because we have who comes off the bench is like we have like how many guys that can get like 10 to 15 points a night? We have like 7 guys that can get 15 points a night with Kelly Oubre.
No, it's confusing. George, and also, I really keep forgetting we still have Eric Gordon on the team.
That's your favorite player, Kyle.
I constantly forget that dude is still here.
Don't forget about Kyle Lowry either.
Yeah, and Kyle Lowry, which like when we got him, I did not think. I don't know. I did not see this being his
third. We had so many point guards a couple years ago, like Reggie Jackson, Kyle Lowry. I was like, it was hard to keep.
He's been too guard heavy the past few years. I keep saying this, man, and they keep not doing the damn thing about it, which really aggravates me. But speaking of guard heavy, one guard or forward, I don't know. I never. With guys the size of this guy, who ever knows if they're a guard or a forward in today's NBA? But it got what? I don't know. Week in and week out, we've been asking when the Sixers are going to re-sign this guy. And you know what? As great of a player as he is, and as happy as I should be that and him, because that means he gets to play on the court this year for the 76ers. I'm really happy because this means we don't have to end every goddamn podcast with are the Sixers going to re-sign Quentin Grimes anymore, because they finally did. So we can finally put that.
Do you think it was the right move for him to deny? I think what was the original offer? Wasn't it like 3 for $39 or something like that? And he denied that and then signed for 8.7, like qualifying offer, but that gives him the leverage to play out the 1 year and then possibly sign a bigger contract next offseason. But how would you have done it as a player? Like missing out on like potentially like $5 million more to sign for 1 year as opposed to 3 years.
I think the 1 year makes sense.
Because remember, originally he wanted 25, and that's why it was so held up to the last second.
Yeah, no, I think the 1 year makes sense. 1 year, go out there, prove yourself. Hope maybe win a ring, and then go get the bag elsewhere.
I feel like this is an interesting question that I just randomly thought about, Dante. Do you know how, like, for the past decade, the Sixers have been buyers at the trade deadline trying to add talent to, like, mesh with?
And they never add any substantial talent, yes.
Yeah. Well, do you think now, since they have VJ Edgecombe, 3rd overall pick, do you think now they're in a role where they'll be selling for the next couple of years just to get rid of stuff to be able to set their roster up correctly, to have the assets and resources to build around Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, and VJ Edgecombe?
That question.
As in, like, do you think the years past, like for the past decade, they've been buyers at the deadline, trying to add guys like to like maximize Ben Simmons and Joel and stuff, but now they actually had the third overall pick, a 20-year-old kid. Do you think now they're in a selling role where not necessarily trade Paul George or Joel Embiid, but get rid of guys like Andre Drummond and Kelly Oubre to just open up the future, since they have a young nucleus of Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe?
Well,
And
to put it, I mean, perspective, right? Joel Embiid, when the first time the Sixers were buyers at the deadline was the 2017-2018 season. We traded for Ersan Ilyasova and Marco Bellinelli, one of the only successful deadlines they had. Joel Embiid was just 23 years old, right? Tyrese Maxey is currently, how old is he? He is 24, right? Jared McCain is 21. You know, like so I think it's a similar situation to when, if anything, it's a similar situation to when they first became buyers at the deadline, where they have great young talent, and they want to add more talent to put them over the edge. So no, I don't think they should become sellers. I think they should, if they're going to do anything.
Well, like they have now, before they were like a lack of surplus of like actual young talent. It was just more so like the mega stars like Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and like whoever else was with them, the third guy in the fiddle, and then they had a bunch of role players around it. But now they have like a bunch of guys that actually could have expanded roles that are young. So I was just thinking about like how that would affect how they're operating now, as opposed to the moves they used to make, trying to like maximize Joel Embiid's window. But now I feel like that pressure is alleviated, having a third overall pick 20-year-old to build around.
Yeah, but I feel like you have so many young pieces right now. You know, you have Edgecombe, you have McCain, you have.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like, dish out the old guys, let those guys really blossom into their roles, and then figure out guys that can get into them, so you can build. Like,
I feel like if anything, dish out PG. I don't want to dish out Embiid.
I feel like PG is actually important now, though, to be a mentor for VJ.
Okay, now we're talking about dishing out Embiid, but keeping PJ.
When did I say dish
you
out?
Just implied it. You just implied it. I said if anything, dish out PG. And so actually, I think we should keep PG. But you've already said you want to dish people out, so it kind of implied you want to dish out Embiid and keep PG.
No, I didn't. When you
implied it.
I was talking about the older role players like Andre Drummond and like Kelly Oubre, those type of guys. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't mind if they did that. I mean, look at the 2021 Eagles. They moved Zach Ertz at the deadline. What'd they do a year later?
Yeah, but would you agree that was it the right move to get rid of Slay?
No.
For this year's Eagles? So yeah, that goes to the same thing.
It was not. But anyway, it is late. We started late. It is currently late.
I'm just happy that I got you at 10:40 at night, passionately arguing about the Sixers at on a Sunday night before.
I don't have the energy to do any more arguing of any sorts.
Yo, should they trade Joel Embiid?
All right, and that's gonna do it for this week's podcast. Tune in next Sunday.
That's actually gonna start podcast episode 2 that we're about to do in 5 minutes, an hour-long segment. If the Sixers should trade Joel Embiid or not.
But no, that will do it.
How many? But realistically, Sixers, how many wins they get this year? If everything goes right, can they actually get 50 wins again? That quickly? Can they turn that around that quickly from being the 4th worst team to now being back onto the timeline they should be on with the talent on the roster?
if they somehow miraculously stay healthy, like the entire team is.
Don't forget about what's happened to the rest of the East too, with Tyrese Halliburton and
You
Jason
asked me a
Tatum.
question. Let me answer it because I want to get out of here. If they somehow magically stay healthy the entire year, which I doubt they will do, but if they somehow magically do that, they will easily win more than 50 games. But realistic,
Easily, as in like pushing 60?
this team at full health can definitely win 55 games. But
And do you think Nick Nurse is the guy that can lead them in that direction too? He can actually, with the
yeah,
resources, finally be that guy?
definitely. But the problem is that's not going to be the outcome. They are going to be riddled with injuries all year, as they always are, and they've already started with it with McCain
Yeah, what's
and
up with the
Paul
Jeremy
George
Cage shit? Why is this
and
kid
BJ
rearing his ugly head
Edgecombe
again,
in the
bro?
summer league. So this is going to be an injury riddled team, and they're going to fight to possibly make the 8th seed. That's how I feel about the team. But no, healthy. This roster is unbelievable at full health. This is an unbelievable roster.
And do you think Nick Nurse has like been the right guy? He just hasn't had the resources around to like
Yeah,
fully
yeah. No,
show.
I don't like to put any fault on Nick Nurse at all.
All right, well, yeah, I'm happy with VJ Edgecombe. I feel like we were really wrong about like the East Bailey VJ Edgecombe. I feel like
Yeah,
that's really
we
about to
were
show
wrong.
this
We
year,
were
and I'm going to
wrong.
be happy.
VJ was always the guy.
I'm completely happy with that, me being wrong in that situation. If it turns out that way, I'm excited about VJ Edgecombe. He just looks like a different type of player than what the Sixers have been working with for years past. But thank you guys for tuning into episode, 116 of the Paisan Sports Podcast. So that is crazy. Hopefully, we'll be celebrating the Phillies National League Championship Series potential to go to the World Series and a victory in the wild card round of the Dodgers. They're going to have to put some work in, win a game, then win a couple out in LA, and then bring it back to Philly. But we'll see how it goes. And hopefully, we'll be celebrating an Eagles victory and not talking about the disappointing back-to-back losses, especially to a weak divisional opponent. And we don't want Brian Dable to get too hype about his current situation, what he's got going on, like lose to the Saints and then get one back on us and feel like he's in a good spot because, he's so overhyped in my opinion. So thank you guys for tuning in to episode 116, and we'll keep you up to date with those topics. And as you notice, we haven't had to end this podcast asking about Quentin Grimes because now he is signed to the Sixers for the 2025 season. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next Sunday. Peace.